Good evening, YouTube. I'm Zachary Fowler, and we are live with the first ever episode 1 of the Creator Course. I'm excited. I'm glad to see you guys all here. 16 people out of the 20 people that signed up. But no worries, if you missed these, there is a playlist link right on the front of my YouTube channel there where you can scroll down. And remember, as we're doing this, if you can't make it, go on and check out the community posts. You'll be able to scroll through and see the ones that are specifically for you. As we get going, maybe there'll be some assignments or things that'll pop up in there. Hey, this is a really good one. Make sure you watch this about how to do this or that, stuff like little extras and about if for some reason as time goes on and I get into some new adventure, we might have to move a night here and there. So if you leave, I'll post about each one of these and what day and what time it'll be. But for now, it's Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And in that post each week, which will be like somewhere Sunday, Monday, today, whatever, before the thing, you can leave your questions and I'll try to get to them in that video. So to start with, the layout of the show is going to be basically the first 20-30 minutes here. I am going to talk about how to quit your job and become a full-time YouTuber. So don't go quitting your job just yet, because that's not how it works. That's just a little bit of a hook in the title, but that's what we will be talking about. And then I have some channels that I have opened up over here on the other screen, and we'll be able to go through some of these channels, talk about, we got Tyler Woods, Backcountry Bug Out, or what? I forgot it, but where is he? Oh, I can't click on. That's not the right screen. So Tyler Woods Bushcraft, Backcountry Runaway. We're gonna open up your guys' channels, those of you that have joined, and we'll go over what is going on with your channels, what you could do to do better. We got some analytics software here so I can view, what you're up to, what you're using for hashtags and stuff like that. And so I guess let's get the ball rolling. I think we have enough channels on the list for today. So next week, I'll open up a new list of channels based on you guys that are in here watching. So leave it in the live comments here, or actually, leave it in the comments of the video that's up after. Could you do my channel? And a question about your channel, so I can have a chance to look at your channel in advance, have the tabs ready to go when we open up next week's class. So let's dive right into it. Thank you guys for coming. Thanks for signing up for this. I'm pretty excited. I think I already said that. So it's weird seeing all of you guys, like you have the members badge, and Greg's with us. So, yeah, Greg's with us. We got Tyler Wood. We got all kinds of people. So, anyways, we'll get into the nitty-gritty. How to quit your job and become a full-time YouTuber. I was very fortunate to be able to quit my job and become a full-time YouTuber because I was out on a loan, as a lot of you know, and I won $500,000. Now, that gave me the unique ability to have some prestige when I started YouTube, so I'm more likely to get some subscribers right off the bat. But there's a lot of things that I did when I first started that actually killed my momentum. So when I first started YouTube, I killed my momentum because I vlogged about what it was like to win $500,000. So automatically, all those people that watched me on the show and wanted to see me create unique things were a little disappointed. Maybe interested, but they wanted to see me create unique things. So I did that, and then I started to build an audience. And I got up to the point where I did my I Bought a Mansion episode. What was it like to win $500,000? 5 things they never tell you about winning $500,000, and those videos did really good. Well, I still had less than, maybe 3,000 subscribers. Those videos got, 4 times, 5 times the amount of subscribers, views, and even 100,000 views on I Bought a Mansion. So I built an audience around vlogging. And then I'm like, okay, now it's time to do the bushcraft stuff they all wanted to see me do on a loan. And I lost almost my entire audience, and I had to build back up again. Some of the people stuck with me, but YouTube is all about a narrow focus. And if you want to quit your job and become full-time on YouTube, you want your channel to grow fast enough that you can do that, you need to have a narrow focus. The more narrow your focus, the more, consistent your views will be popping out. And we can look at some channels here in a second and talk about that, and that's what we did with Oven's Rocky Mountain Bushcraft. And the reason, I started YouTube was, I knew I could afford to do this, and I was confident in myself that I could make unique stuff. And I wanted to build whatever I wanted to build, because my whole life, that's all I wanted to do is make neat stuff, and I liked making videos. Even though I had only made a couple of them on my phone before that, and a couple little things, I loved movies and I liked making videos. So it was like the opportunity of a lifetime for me, and I started watching like how to do YouTube, and I learned how to do YouTube through just other content creators. That's all they make is videos about how to do YouTube, and I took all that I knew from that, and I somehow didn't listen too much to the narrow focus thing. And one guy who actually paid a good bit for one or two classes, it was almost like $5,000 for classes. And the one piece of advice that I didn't listen from him was, if you found something you're doing successful, just keep doing that very same thing until you've made it, and then you can switch to something else. So it took me a while to start doing that and actually getting my channel to really blow up. So in a lot of ways, if you're looking at my channel and you're like, well, he won alone, of course it's easy for him to do it. Not so. Oven's Rocky Mountain Bushcraft, I think, is a good example of that. Greg has a reputation, and I shared his videos as we built it. But the narrow focus of the channel with the titles, descriptions, and we'll get more into this, so hold your questions till we get through the spiel. The narrow focus of his title, description, thumbnails, and video titles, and the channel title, and the descriptions of each video, where they're all like everything Greg does, we try to focus on making it bushcraft or survival. So it's, bushcraft, catch and cook, bushcraft, catch and cook, wild blueberry pie, like all staying as narrowly focused to those things as possible means that he gets, right from the beginning, every video got more views than the next one, and he can consistently, almost all the time, we always get 100,000 views plus on one of his videos. Whereas if you look at my channel, I still take dives down to 20,000 views, and that's all I end up getting, like 25,000 views on some videos in a week's time. And the reason for that is I still don't care about narrow focus. I've made it so I can afford to not be narrow focus, and I do lose views if I do certain things. But I like to fish, but YouTube, unless I do it unique enough, I don't get the views for it because it's not considered to be in my channel authority. And so that's something we're going to talk about a lot, and that's a very important thing as you build your channel, is building that channel authority with YouTube and with your viewers, because you're going to build a thing with YouTube, and you're also building a thing with your viewers, which are going to be loyal. So even when your videos stink, or YouTube thinks your videos stink because they didn't get a lot of clicks per impressions right away, that channel authority and that tight following of your viewers is going to keep you afloat and keep the ball rolling, and possibly allow that video, maybe if it doesn't take off a little while now, but and you do everything else right, it may blow up down the road randomly. But not randomly. As we get into that, we'll go into that more. So to quit your job and become a full-time YouTuber, for me, I was able to do it instantly. Greg, it took us 3.5, 4 months before we could have Greg quit his job and continue to do full-time YouTube, like full-time. And so for those of you that don't know, we produce Oven's Rocky Mountain Bushcraft, and Greg submits his footage, and we manage the footage and his channel for him. So he can go out there, have adventures, and we could bring you those fun videos that that you see on his channel. If you haven't watched Oven Rocky Mountain Bushcraft, make sure you go over there and check that out. That is an example of our work that we do here at Fowler's Makery Mischief to build the channel for Greg, and like how we try to do Greg's voice, through his footage, and without turning it into just another big, one of my videos completely. So we have a lot of fun with it, and we've been working really great with Greg, and it's really fun. So that's what we want to kind of do with you guys as we work along. Now, Greg's also was on a loan, so he has a little bit of an advantage. And now, don't let that make you think that, like, oh, I just got to go out and win a show, otherwise there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. Because the YouTube algorithm now is keyed optimally. So if you do a good job each time, you can keep growing. And then at times that can be an exponential growth. And so it's not impossible to start a YouTube channel and to take right off to some degree. There's a lot of stuff we got to do, and that's what we're going to be getting into each week with some new subject as we talk more and more about it. And if you watch these and we start going into each of these channels that you guys have been building, or also, I should have mentioned this at the beginning, we can go into your Instagrams, your Facebooks, and your websites and your web stores if you have them, and we can talk about how to integrate them, because that's something we've done very successfully here, and I did right from the beginning of starting everything. Because when I started the YouTube, I didn't just do YouTube and was like, oh, I got to make it on YouTube, and then I'll be able to have made it. I went and I integrated started a website, and knowing that I wouldn't be able to get a lot of sponsors, even being on the show, that didn't mean that people wanted to sponsor me. They wanted to see that I keep going first. And so they were willing to always send me product, and I could use that in my videos. And so if I liked it, I automatically added it to the website, and I sold it. And so my videos sold it, and the affiliate links that I got actually went really well. So within 7 months' time of me coming back from a loan and being allowed to start posting things seriously, and I went out and took my money and bought all the cameras I needed that I had out on a loan, and a drone, I was full-time on YouTube and providing for the family without having to dip into my winnings. Now, granted, I did spend a good deal of money to get going, but I think also there's a good degree of evidence out there, especially like the WOODSMEN. If you watch his video on, he made his first 1 million views and then some on just a camera that was a $160 camera. No drone footage, no slow-mos, no epic, high quality footage. Even his thumbnails were all taken from screenshots. And if you look at Greg's channel, since we haven't been together and he's been up there in the Rockies, his thumbnails are all stuff that either we made up creative-wise, or it was from the screenshots from his videos, or we just made up to tell the story of what he was doing. Like literally, like the Rocky Mountain Lobster was him holding a trout from our 30-day survival challenge, and we just worked our magic with the photos and turned it into a burbot by finding a burbot somewhere else and sticking it in his hands. And it does look a little funky when you're looking at it, but at the same time, it looks believable, and it's just something about it just pops out at you, and you just want to know more about that story. And that's what every thumbnail should do for you. So excuse me, I just had dinner with the girls. Need to burp on you. So I'm thinking is the quitting your job to become a full-time YouTuber is going to take anywhere from 3 to 5, maybe depending on how much you put into it, 7 years if you're doing it part-time while you're doing your job. If you're a single guy, you might be able to accelerate that, and you'd be a lot closer to 3 years. If you're a family man, I'm guessing it would probably be a lot closer to 5 to 7 years to be able to transition. And then on top of that, the other factor would be, do you have what it takes? Are you that sparkling personality that people are looking for and are entertained by when you're doing it. Now, even if you're not, even if you're for some reason broken and monotone, you can still do it. I mean, look at the WOODSMEN. I wonder. I gotta remember that one to drop on him when I'm roasting him next time. Because at the beginning he was just super monotone. He was just, and he learned and he kept pursuing his career, and he'll tell you it too in his videos about when he talks about it. He would stand in that tree stand and he would just talk to the camera, and it was so boring. And then he came up with some great storylines, and he came up with some, great adventures to have, and some reasons to have them, and he stopped just, and he actually started editing his videos, and he stopped just standing there and just, talking to the camera like as monotone as possible, and he got more excited about what he was doing and forgot about the camera and just was himself, and it made all the difference, and his YouTube channel blew up, and now he's at over 1 million. We've spent a lot of time talking. We'll have him on as a guest at one point once we really get going, and so it's welcome new members, welcome everybody that's just joining us. If you're just joining us, I'm gonna give this. This will be up and it'll stay up, so you can go back and watch this as many times as you want. And if you have questions, make sure you keep checking the community post on my YouTube channel for the next updates on what this next Tuesday's episode will be, closer to a day before or something like that. And then if you can't be here for the live thing, leave your questions in that community post, and you'll be able to come back and watch the episode after as a member, and any past episodes if you've signed up later. So we're talking for another couple minutes here about how to quit your job, and don't quit your job just yet, because it takes a lot of work. There's no fast road. You could even get 1 million views, start getting 1 million views soon at times. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but it is possible with the YouTube algorithm. It's possible to do something. And I'll be giving you some ideas as we go through this. We're going to go onto your channels, and I'll do my best to come up with some ideas. I already looked at some of these guys' channels, and I got some great ideas I think would double your views, if not triple your views, just by looking at what you're doing yourself in a different way and filming it differently. So I built my channel, and I didn't listen to the advice that was given me in the beginning, and I didn't have a narrow focus, and so it did take a little bit longer, but because I was doing it full time and really cranking out the episodes, and everything I did was as top notch as I possibly could. And that's one of those important things too, because you're trying to grow a following. You want it to be top notch as much as it can be for your capabilities. So don't go back and start deleting your channels after we talk tonight, because deleting content because you're like, oh, it's not as top notch. Don't worry about it. We can move on. If anything, and you make it through this process and make it into something, then those videos, people will love to go back and comment about how ridiculously bad you were back then and how good you're doing now, kind of thing. It just makes your character and your colorful even more important. So it takes a while. It may take you, several years, or it may take you 3 or 4 years, especially if you have to work at a regular job to be able to do this. Trying to think what else we could get into. So I had a couple other points. As we talk about when we start looking into these channels and I'm looking at things, there's going to be some things that I say, we're going to say thumbnails, and those are the cover pictures. I always get in trouble with the other guys for dating myself by saying cover pictures, but they are thumbnails, and so if I do call them cover pictures, you know what I'm talking about. And now that's the top most important thing for your video, because without a good thumbnail, you're not going to get the views, and it won't matter how great your content is. And that happens to me sometimes where I've made a fun video and it was enjoyable, but I just can't hit on that right thumbnail. We can see that actually with one of my most recent videos, that the where here we go. If you look up my channel here and we go to like that ones with the good thumbnails and story, that's where everything begins, is right here at the front. So the catch and cook, sunfish tacos, boom, no problem. But I almost think that building a free mystery tackle box, it's kind of a sucky title, but Find and Catch was so much more epically filmed. And the adventure that was in there, nobody has made a video, very few people have ever made a video that was like this. So it's so very different. So people, as you're going through YouTube and you're like, oh, I've seen this before from somebody else, it's like, but at the same time, that thumbnail's dark. It's not, there's a fish in it, so there's some mystery there. It's kind of neat. It's kind of a neat story, find and catch. So you're finding fishing lures in your hand. They're hard to see. I didn't nail it. And after spending a little bit of time on it and making a second attempt at fixing the thumbnail, it's like at some point you just got to move on with your life. And so thumbnails are going to be your most important thing, because if you can't get people to watch your video, then they're not gonna get to enjoy how well you filmed it and how charismatic you are, or how interesting you are, or clever your content is, even in the first place. That part of the content comes into getting you subscribers. That's the part of the content, the cleverness of your content, the educational value of the content, the creativity of your content, the differentness of your content from something people have already seen a million times. That's the stuff in your content that's going to get you the subscribers, which is going to continue to grow your channel. Because every time YouTube takes into evaluation how quick people click on the thumbnails and how much watch time those two things, I like to call them as brownie points, are all going to go towards building your channel authority. And like we said before, your channel authority is going to be what gives you the ability to get views and get shares and connect with your audience, so that your channel and your videos and your views and your subscribers can grow. So if you have that channel authority and you match that to the video, you match that to the title, you match that to the thumbnail, and you match that to what's similar to what you've been doing each time, you will each time get more and more views. And you can see that when we look at Greg's channel and in my channel too. It's like when I step outside that box a little bit, all of a sudden the views take a dive. And so you're throwing off that algorithm. And a lot of people who are really, like I would say, obsessed with YouTube and just hardworking channels, like the kids channels, or certain other channels like Monster Mike or the Outdoor Boys. He's not obsessed, but he's they only want to do the most clickable thing they can do. So every time they're going for a super hit. Whereas I don't base choosing my videos based on that, because if I did, I'd just get I feel like I'd get kind of bored at times. So, continually getting a better one. I think a good example for this is Primitive Technology. If you guys have seen his channel, it's like he puts out a video, I don't know, 5-6 times a year, but each one has a good thumbnail, good story. It's exactly the same as he does. He never puts out, as far as I know, he's never puts out a vlog or my trip to something, he never breaks character, basically. And his narrow focus means that even if he's gone for a while, every time he puts out a video, it gets a lot of views, and it'll always get 4 to 8 million views or something ridiculous. It's the narrow focus. And so when we built Greg's channel, we tried to do that very thing, and it's been very successful because in 3 months he had like 100,000 subscribers. He on like month 4 or 5, we managed to get with the mousetrap video because of the thumbnail strategy and the title and stuff. It managed to get 1 million views in 1 week on that video, and so that was like a very successful full run because of the narrow focus of everything he's doing. And so as you think about your channel and what you want to do with it, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, things like that, you want to keep as much as possible without finding that it's unenjoyable, that you ruin your own joy in the process. You want to keep that narrow focus. So if you're going to vlog about doing something with your family, then you should just vlog about doing something with your family all the time. But if you want to do some bushcraft as well, then add that into doing, with the family. It's just another vlog, but then it's in the video, not necessarily always the title or the focus of the titles of your vlogging about doing stuff with your family should always be the doing something with the family and that other thing. So like I know now, and I still don't exactly pay attention to it all the time because I just want to do other things and I don't have to worry about it that much because I'm doing okay. That if I put catch and cook at the beginning of a video, and that is the focus of the video is some sort of catch and cook, it's going to do so much better. And I know if I do something slingshot, because of my channel authority revolves around survival, catch and cook, and slingshots, and mosquitoes, apparently, and mosquitoes, and beautifully made things. And if I stick with that narrow focus, there's a good chance that whatever I do will and be 1 million views. And especially right now, that air rifle stuff, people for some reason just boom. That last one during this last 30-day survival challenge, the pigeon catch and cook. It did amazingly well. It took a little bit to take off because that series, for some reason, it was at home, so it wasn't as appealing to people, and so it was a very slow start. And the videos themselves aren't doing well. I mean, so even going outside of your narrow focus, and you do the most epic thing, it can be heartbreaking to see a video just fall on its face. I made that not catch and cook. I made a steak smoker, out of a snowman. And I feel like at the right time of year and the right, it was the last spring snow and the right, and the views might have been up or something already, but the other ones were such a dive before that one. If I had posted that at the right spot, that would have been or during the 30-day survival challenge, that would have been as many views as Tent versus Hammock, with 8 million views. And so it was kind of disheartening to see that do so poorly. But that's the nature of the game. And so that's why we're here today, to learn how to do that and how to help you guys become more successful. And it's the same thing with Instagram and Facebook. If you're going to post pictures of your family on a business oriented Facebook page that you're trying to grow traction and get sales to your website where you're making, let's just say I've been talking to Overpour Lures. They make the most beautiful little fishing lures for, just poured plastic lures that are so realistic with the little grubs and things, and with wiggly little legs, and they're so beautiful. And talking about how to integrate, and you wouldn't want to take in that page and post, every other picture being your daughter, and then lures and stuff like that. And so, we can talk about that too. If you have a Facebook or an Instagram, if you have a business that you're trying to use to promote, I would always say if you haven't already started a YouTube, then your better bet would be starting an Instagram and a Facebook to promote that kind of stuff, where you could start out small, making small content. You can always still post it to YouTube, but you have to make different content for each platform. And what we've lately been doing is posting to Facebook, and we're rehashing some of our old content and making smaller, shorter content for Facebook and Instagram. and you got to build the content for the platform you're on. And that's what we're going to be talking about. And that's what and doing that correctly will be what gives you the ability to grow fast and be able to, at some point, if that's your dream, quit your job and be full-time with either YouTube, or maybe the YouTube isn't so huge, but because you're doing great content about what you're selling or what your business is promoting, like classes and things like that, or survival gear or anything out there, if those videos are promoting it well, then you will be able to make enough money, and you will be able to quit your job and follow more of your dream. So, does anybody have any questions? Almost looks like my feed is stuck. I'm not seeing a lot of questions popping up. Oh, well, that's my issue. I swap between different sorts of videos and all the same. Yeah, so you've already noticed that from our talk. Swapping around will lose you views and consistent growth. But there's ways to do that. Like, as much as is possible, either you live with the result of that. I would recommend you don't want to swap around until you're over, because even I was doing that for a little while, but then once I started doing the 87 Days series, I didn't stop until that brought me over 100,000 subscribers, and I was getting like consistent almost 100,000 views on a video right in a row, and then I was like, and then the business was fully providing for itself, and then I started messing around with trying different things. Like, I switched to Trick Shot Tuesday, doing episodes on that, and then back and forth between that and bushcraft. And it took me several episodes of Trick Shot Tuesday before I found my audience that was willing to watch those as well. And so, like, that first one, I lit a match with the slingshot, and it got 20,000 views, and so it's like the same as the 3D printed lure. Last year I'm getting 100,000 views on videos, 500,000 million here and there, and then I do a 3D printed lure, printing it on the boat, on the water, catching a fish with it, and YouTube doesn't consider me to be a fisherman, and that's outside of my wheelhouse. Had I used 3D printed lure catch and cook fish with a 3D printed lure, I probably could have turned that into a different situation entirely. So we'll talk about that as we look at your channels, like how to keep that narrow focus, keep having fun, and learn something new. So maybe we'll dive into some of these channels. You ready for a roasting, Tyler Wood, Bushcraft? I'm just teasing. It'll be nice. And keep it nice in the comments. I don't know if you guys want to say that. Maybe you guys should say all nice stuff while I'm critiquing things, so it balances it all out. No, I'll try to be the old sandwich effect. I'll try to move you right up to the top of the list here, since you've been so helpful, Tyler. And that's one thing you could do. Find somebody to follow and pay attention to, and feel free to copy those persons. If they don't like it, then they're not really, they can go away. You don't have to pay attention to them anymore, because there's only just so much stuff out there in the world. And everything that everybody does, even if they're the most creative person in the world, I feel like they're only doing maybe 10% different than something else that's already been done. It's not, there's nothing new under the sun. So as we open up Tyler's channel, we can see he gets with YouTube Buddy, which is a great resource. I recommend that highly to you guys, so you can look at your analytics a little bit differently and see different things, as well as comparing yourself to other people and how their reviews are going. You can see their tags. We can see right here he's got his tags are about himself, about bushcraft, live, camping. So because he tagged his stuff bushcraft, his channel name is bushcraft. It creates a large degree of channel authority. I would have to say the banner is well proportioned and set in there right. If you're watching it on a phone, it'll end up like this and like this, and it'll end up cropped. But the little words and other stuff, like something that says more in picture than in words. That's one thing that we always want to do as people. We want to talk too much, and and try to like get people to understand what we're trying to put across, right? But words say so much, and people get so many words thrown in their face all the time. And so thumbnails and everything, too many words can just choke out a person. And so if you can use a picture that says 1,000 words, that means an awful lot. I don't know if 9's necessarily the best thumbnail ever, and things like that. But it's like, there's so much happening there that you're like, what is going on? I think I see a slingshot, tools, making stuff, actually, I'm not even all that happy with that anymore. But it goes to show you how, I think, at least, how well I did years ago, that it's still there because I haven't been able to think of something better. It can be easy to get a blind spot. Wooded Beardsman went with promoting his Wilderness Living Challenge, but I think if you look on it on mobile, you will end up with some of this cropped off, because on mobile it cuts in, and so you'll just have this beautiful river scene. So there are templates out there you can use for building your channel picture, because the templates will give you you can put that over your thing while you're building it and crop to that same size, and you'll see where those cutoffs are for building it. And so I think we can see right here on Tyler's that he managed to put his just right here and there. And but I would say that some of those other stuff are a little bit excessive, and having that be like pretty see-through, and having the pretty scenery, which we can hardly see there, being forward, might say more about bushcraft or his neatest. I've seen you with some stuff that you've built some neat things. So like having a better shot, a photo of that, which portrays the story of what your channel is about, could probably be more successful. Because when people come to your page, a lot of times people don't usually just come to your page, but when they do end up on your page because they see something you like and they back out to your page, they're going to see this, and that's going to be the presentation, not these things. These are the analytics that I have access to. Oh, thanks. I didn't realize he put me on his featured channels. That's a nice thing to do for people, to do for the other people, so that, and I think possibly even YouTube might read that and say, that's similar people. If the people are watching that, it might even add to brownie points of people being suggested, you being suggested after them. So as you can see here, it talks about how many views. I had this huge spike when On the Ice series got tons of views in Indonesia. I have no idea why. It was so popular there for 2 days and got like almost 2 million views. So it was pretty wild. So as we scroll down, channel trailer, we won't maybe get into watching a channel trailer and stuff. My advice for you is that your channel trailer should be kind of your face as far as the thumbnail. I'm not sure if that's his thumbnail for that, or if that's just because I already started playing it. I would say your channel trailer is about you and what you're doing. And so taking your best content as you have it and updating that once a year with like a best content, or in my case, it's the trailer for the 30-Day Survival Challenge Season 2, because that's like our best content. If somebody gets into watching that 30-Day Survival Challenge and they watch all of a season, that's a lot of views, and they're kind of hooked, and then by the time they're done, they're more than likely subscribed, or it doesn't even matter. Now YouTube's going to suggest my videos to them more often than not, and they'll have that in their feed, and it creates a viewing loop, and it's good for you. And it's good for them too, because if you're making good content. Thumbnails, some great, some good stuff there with the white. A lot of people get into making thumbnails and they put like yellows and other things like that. Putting a little 4K, that's a great little way to, say, you can see right here, because of what he did there, that like the thumbnail having more time spent on it, people are going to pick that up and they're going to notice that, because the more, that's a bad word, the bad language, English, the more better your thumbnail is, the more professional they're going to think your video is. So even if you're doing everything on a smartphone, but you have the latest even the second or third latest smartphone, you take those photos at the highest resolution in the best light possible, because a smartphone photo at the best lighting will look really good, and you can do some work to it. You can, add some white lettering is better than not. With color sciences like warm and yellows and reds like that, if they're not letters, the letters can be like red to a bull can kind of be to a human too, but when it's in the right shape and form, like a fire, that says warmth, comfort, and and the things that fires usually do. So cover photos of shelters with fires and things like that can usually be pretty huge. And we can see that here because he's building your shelter thing, and it's like you see that tells the story. So he's building the shelter. Now that whole photo, if that was that and a little more finished with a fire in front of it, that's like a Joe Robinette move, and that might be twice as many views right now. As much as some people are afraid of showing your full project, and that can actually be like a hindrance to you, because it actually, I don't think it ever really it ever causes your video to fail by giving too much away. Because I give quite a bit of tease at the beginning of each of my videos, and some people, as they're making their videos, they love these romantic channels, and those guys, they do a good job, and the super romantic, I can't remember this new guy that does bushcraft. I'll have to bring up the tab next time. We'll talk about it. But he's like, his whole first part of his video is just the walk in and stuff. TA Outdoors is a big one for that, I'm not sure if he puts a little teaser, but I always put a little teaser at the beginning of mine, which shows pretty much everything that's going to happen in the video in 5, 6, 7 seconds. And then and there's the trailer, and then the video starts. And it doesn't seem to hurt the videos. It just kind of shows people what they're going to get. Because when people are auto-watching stuff on their phone, they see that and they auto-watch, and they know what they're in for, and then they're like, now that's... And it's a short way of having a quick trailer of what to look for, what the video is going to be about. And then if the production quality of that little teaser is good, and even the rest of your video stinks, they might not even notice that until they're like halfway into it, and then they sign off, and you're like, it's no loss for you. Now you've just done really well with, getting them into it, and they've got the point of the video, and they enjoyed some of it, and then they moved on, and now YouTube's going to suggest your next several videos, and if you get a hit with them, that person on an individual basis, those videos will keep getting suggested to them, and at some point they'll subscribe or they won't, but YouTube keeps putting it into their feed, and you keep getting views from that person on an individual basis. Where do you add the channel tags? Okay, so that's a huge thing to get into, like channel tags and all that stuff. That would be best for you guys to go after this. Next week we'll get into that, and I'll give you some people to start watching for background stuff. There's some YouTubers that just will go. You can use those, and I would say that those are going to be. I'll put down in the a community post like your top 3 guys that you want to go to for these answers, because as you go to build your channel, like how to set up your monetization, how to set up, whatever, so that you can be able to receive super chats, things like that. You're going to be like, why? Because some of those things aren't even going to be accessible to you till you reach a certain level. Like I think, like super chat isn't even available, or at least it wasn't initially until you got to 100,000 subscribers. But without opening up my channel, it's like channel tags are, I think when you hit your channel and you hit customize channel, you probably can go to about, and you can add those channel tags or something like that. There's also in Creators YouTube Studio, there's on the side, there's some tabs for settings, and in those settings, that might be actually where it is. In those settings, there's a whole list of area where you can add your channel tags. You can add presets for your uploads, so that like if you have an ongoing sponsor, that you continue to use. Like if you become an affiliate partner with somebody, you'll be able to have that preset already done, and it's already in all your videos, where you get your music from, stuff like that, so you don't have to type that in every time. It's super handy to be able to learn all those stuff about the background. And so watching some of these other guys, I'll put them in so that you can continue to watch their new stuff as they put out, and they'll put stuff out on how the algorithm changes and that. Like continuing to learn about YouTube, not just watching what I'm telling you here, will make a huge difference in how far you can go. Because it's I don't know, I hesitate to say it's an obsession, but it for me, since I got, it kind of is in a way. Like I don't watch much bushcraft stuff. Like I watch, every once in a while I see like if somebody's big has a big hit, I watch it to see what that's all about and what's up. I'll watch the Wooded Beardsmen because he's my friend, and Greg's because we added him, and but like unless somebody else has a hit, I don't watch them. I'll try to watch some of your guys here and there, so we can go over your videos and what's going on and give you some encouragement. On to the next person here, we got Backcountry Runaway. I watched one or two of your videos. I didn't catch your name. Sorry. That's something that a lot of people talk about and we go back and forth on when I'm talking with the Wooded Beardsman and with like Alex Perrick of AP Bassing. He called his channel AP Bassing, and he's been toying around with it for a long time, changing it back. And I'm like, AP Bassing is pretty epic. The Wooded Beardsman's like, there's so much more power in calling it Alex Perrick or something. I'm like, but nobody knows you for Perrick. But so there might be a slow down time if he did that, but in the long run, it might actually be more beneficial. But at the same time, when you're about a subject, like bassing, AP Bassing, or you guys are, you're talking about backcountry, I think that's a very clever name, and it's a really good name. The only problem I see with that is that I don't see backcountry as necessarily being super clickable. It's not to say that's going to slow you down or mess you up. You can do a really good job of promoting your own backcountry kind of thing in the titles of your videos at times, and start calling like 3-day backcountry adventure. Look at Joe Robinette. He probably actually has something on there about backcountry. Okay, he says, backcountry runaway, your name is Sam. Nice to meet you, Sam. And so I wouldn't go changing that and things like that, but it's thinking about ways to include that into your video titles so that when somebody searches that, means that your video comes up and you're the only person. You own it, you branded it, you've created that thing, So, 3-day backcountry runaway, and making that into like a little series for yourself, 5-day backcountry runaway, runaway to call it 5-day backcountry runaway to, Yosemite National Park, wherever you're doing your thing, for instance, and putting that as a series and making that into a playlist as you build your channel. Now, what I did watch was your outdoor survival skills book review, and I thought, well, not a lot of people do book reviews. My initial thing was like, don't waste your time. If you're going to do a book review, do something else that's more entertaining, and then bring up the book in your video. Sure, it won't be searchable by the title of that book, but nobody's really looking up book reviews on YouTube. People might Google a book review so that they know to buy it, but you got something there that you can do something with. I would say here, the creative thing to do with this would be to make a video of trying something out of these books each time you have one. Get a book at a garage sale, make a series like bought a book and tried it out or something. There's probably a better title than that, but that's your back end title, and it's like something book test or something like that. And you get this book and you go to the garage sales, film like finding a book, just a quick clip maybe, so it's not intrusive on your phone. Be like, ooh, look at that! I just found this cool book by so and so at the garage sale. Let's go try it out, and then whip cut to, whip cutting in your backyard and be like, I've been pouring through this book and I noticed that this survival aspect that these people are talking about is very different from, what I've read in other books. And his technique to do the bow drill was to do this and then show that. And that's part of the cover photo. Like the book isn't part of the cover photo. It's, I learned it in a book, maybe is the series, I learned it in a book I found at a garage sale, and and then in the title of the book or something. And so you could have a whole series going on of showing off these different things you've learned, which would encourage people to read books, and it's fun, and that's what you're doing anyways. So you're not going out of your way, and you go and you start sign up for an affiliate program with Amazon. And so now you have your Amazon affiliate program. You've showed the book is viable, and you've just showed that this is, even if you only have a couple viewers, that book is like, that's cool. There's like cool things in there to do and learn, and it's like you just brought that book to life, and that's what we're trying to do with our videos. We're trying to bring something to life, whether it's just stirring some emotion in people so they continue to come back, or you're stirring up the encouragement in them to go out and try something for themselves and showing that it's doable, even if you're not doing a complete how-to. Be very careful of getting in a how-to rut. If we look at Dan Walwack and his channel, he's had a channel for several years. He always gets a consistent 3,000 to 5,000 views on a video, and then he'll get 10 to 12 on a video every once in a while, but they're all how-tos. And he has so many of them, it does really well for him, but it took so much grinding to get there. And then there's other times where he's just done one video on something unique, and 3-day adventure, deer hunting. And I don't think he got a deer on that one, but it's like that one had 100,000 views. If he consistently kept doing that, but he likes to do the how-to stuff. And he's built up enough of a log of that you consistently find him if you're searching how to tie a bowline, how to tie how to make a pot hanger, how to make a hammock in a tree kind of thing, like a bushcraft hammock. So it works, but it's going to take a lot more work. Thumbnails could use some work. You need to, as much as possible, take intentional photos that tell the whole story. For instance, one of my other videos that was diving lately, and it was stinking, and I actually went out and got all this stuff and built a still. It's not even in the video. It's kind of a cheat, but it's like, it works. I don't know if this video is going to turn around. I've never successfully changed the thumbnail and had the video turn around, but as far as telling the truth, nobody's complained about this not being in the video that I can see. And all the comments I've been through, there might be some in there, but nobody's complained about it because it tells the story. I'm making fish oil in a unique and interesting way, and the title says catch and make beard oil, fishy beard oil extract. And that's what the video is all about. So they're so busy watching it after because they were able to get the story from the thumbnail, which gave you the click, which led to the views, and which led to them being satisfied, and and everybody's a winner. That's what we're going for with this. Same thing with this one. This was more successful recent with the fish. It's a very interesting thing. This wasn't on the location down there. All of it's kind of set up and staged afterwards. It's 2 different photos. I get something laying down so it looks like it's wood burnt almost into there. And I took a focus-wise a picture of the card and the line, focus-wise picture on the fish, and focus-wise on this. And spent the time in the past, I've spent the time to learn how to use photo editing software so I can make all of those elements come into focus that I want to and as sharp as possible. Some are actually cut out and highlighted just so finely that you can't even see it, but it removes the item from the background. And learning how to do that photo editing. I use a MacBook Pro and Affinity Photo. Photoshop's a really good one too. I found Affinity Photo to be fairly successful. It's a one-time purchase as opposed to continuing to pay $25 a month for Adobe Premiere and stuff like that, which can be a lot of work. So we're coming up. We'll go over a couple more of these channels real quick, and or not so quick, but and then I'll answer your questions for the last half hour. We'll talk, and then as those bring up things, I can bring up things to show you. So travel by faith. It's got some. Not sure what to say about the thumbnail. There's nothing wrong with it, but there's also nothing to recommend it. Like I almost picture like travel by faith, like just seeing, it makes me think of Jesus, and his adventures, and like almost want to see like a guy. I don't know. I would probably tell the wrong story. A guy casting a net out in, it's like somebody might think he's a fisherman, but then they see travel by faith, like, when Jesus told the disciples to cast the net on the other side, and they hauled up all kinds of fish. It's all about trying to tell that story, I'm not really sure how to tell the story of travel. Maybe even having, if there's a lot of travel happening in your vlogs, you could have multiple situational pictures, like they all kind of pan one into the next. Something really unique would be like, a mountain goes up and that turns into a mountain of a different region entirely, and then turns into a Tibetan mountain, which comes down. And if the colors of the right days match, and that could all be taken from, and then it could be like the words, travel by faith or something could be in there. That's a hard one. The channel bubbles, we didn't talk about that yet. Your image should be as obvious as possible. Some people like to use logos, and unless you have a strong logo, that actually kind of takes away from it. You're better off having as good of a picture as possible. That one could be a little tighter and closer. That's too blown out right there. So it's like having a nice, clear picture of yourself in close. I was told from the beginning that I shouldn't have mine being in profile, and but I had it everywhere like that for so long. I'm loath to change it, and it has the orange hat and the orange beard, so it makes sense across the board with everything else. Tyler Woods, he's got his symbol, his like kind of logo thing that I say that works, and but people being able to connect with you visually, like to your building your brand and building your relationship with them by looking them in the eye. When you're looking at your camera, you're not looking at the viewfinder on the side. You're looking them in the eye. You're building that relationship and that personal thing. It's almost hard for me sometimes when I go to town and people are recognizing me because like they're so familiar with me, and I'm like, did I know that person from years ago, or is this person that just knows me from YouTube? Because I built such a rapport with them on their end, and I'm only able to build this rapport with you guys text-wise, on the other end. It's like, it's like kind of like you're doing something right. You built a close relationship with them where they feel like, they know me enough that, and I love it. I love to meet people, and I have no problem with it. So that's not what's difficult. The difficult part is like, is that a person I know from church a couple of years ago? I went, I even had one person that really messed with me, and I actually went to high school with them, and they were just in the area. And I was like, I know them. But like, this is so weird. But like, how would I know somebody in Vermont is so far away from here that they would end up in the same town? And they're like, Fowler, what's up? And like, that messes with my head big time. But anyway, so we got thumbnails, and I'm looking at it here, and it says, so it's like you're traveling. So you're doing like travel reviews, vlogging about your repairs to your thing. Definitely. Okay, so that's something we get into here. The titles and stuff, your titles, keywords, you haven't added tags to your channel yet. And that could be where you really bring out what the traveling by faith aspect of it is, tagging, because you got travel by faith, but then when I look down at your channel, I'm seeing everything's kind of reviews about your travel gear, which is great because there's tons of people out there, and people they want to know what's good to use for what situation. Chris Thorne, that I did the first 30-day survival challenge with, did so well on his reviews of gears because he was able to concisely talk about the gear and how to, and just sell it to people and just show it as, as it is in all its aspects. Not even necessarily saying one piece of gear was way better than another. He did have the habit of saying stuff really sucked at times, and it probably would be better just to not say anything about that and just say something about other stuff. You just say what you recommend, not necessarily what you think should be thrown in the trash. That's my own opinion on that thing. So, there's a lot of other people that do that, just go through and talk about what they think sucked and just bash things. But so, you know, he did really well in that, and you can see on his channel, like he wanted to do more of what I do, and so we went on did the 30-day survival challenge together, and that's when I really fully myself learned how badly you need to keep your focus. Mine blew up with millions of views. It's almost like 20-something million views over the whole series or something now, maybe 18, 20, almost 20, or maybe it is now, but of that first 30-day survival challenge. But he didn't even get 1 million views. All of his videos, I don't think he, added up to 1 million views together. Like, he was getting 10,000 views because he so stepped out of his wheelhouse and tried to play an authority on a subject that he knew nothing about, that he only knew about in literature or other people telling him, and he knew, and it came off in the videos. He didn't know what he was, he was just either regurgitating what other people told him, and he didn't know how to do anything except for he had done it for that first time, and he's like, and that came out in the way he was talking, so it was off-putting, and it was such a switch from his norm of doing reviews, which he had just started getting, millions of views on reviews. And if you look at his next video after our 30-day survival challenge, it was buying the survival gear from Walmart. Millions of views, because it's all about gear. His channel authority was built around, gear review, and he tried to switch, and it just killed all of his momentum. And it's like, and so like he would do the review and then go do a survival challenge thing, and it only got trickle over views from that first video because very minimal people felt it believable and wanted to watch his survival challenges and things like that because they didn't feel like that was his thing. And so he's had to continue to work at that to convince them that is now that his thing, and so he can actually get views on stuff like that. He did, and so it's like you shoot yourself in the foot if you change what you're doing too much. You need to introduce change a little bit at a time. Now these are really good as far as your thumbnails, like just it shows what the video is about, and if you're putting the tags in there, let's see if we can look, and according to the TubeBuddy tool, you haven't added tags, so you're missing a big opportunity there to be able to have lose the number at the beginning. If you want to put episodes and things like that, put them at the end, because the beginning of your title and your thumbnail, what's on the thumbnail, the title, the beginning of your description, all of those matching consistently from one to the next would probably double your views just to start with. And especially when you're a small channel, if you're reviewing stuff, those tags that would appear over here, if I saw that they had some, and the description and that matching will mean that the more that you do this, that you will rank for, RV adventuring or something like that, as you put that in your tags, and it will provide you with people that are searching for the subject, and it'll end up automatically like searching you. And having TubeBuddy allows you to see where your videos rank. So for me, I can see with TubeBuddy, I can see, not in here, but if I go into the back end of my YouTube, it'll show me what each of those rankings are. So like for this one, I could see that I ranked number 3 or 4 on YouTube for survival the day that this came out. That will change as time goes on. If the video does well, it could end up staying at the top, but most likely, it'll end up ranked number 1 for catch and cook, or somewhere in number between 1 and 10. And when people are searching catch and cook, because they're like, I just feel like watching a catch and cook video, that's the kind of views that reviewing channels and things like that are gonna make their bank off of, kind of like, and make their videos have a chance to blow up. So finding the uniqueness in that, having a clear picture, this one's a DIY mud flap installation. or whatever, then that I would say could be in the photo. Like you could have all this right here instead of pointing at it. You got your tool out, and that's telling the story. You know, and and then the title matching that. So you got to be very creative as you build it. Look up what other YouTubers have done for installing mud flaps. Try to find one that's got the most views, and literally copy the exact same thing that they did. Watch what their videos are doing. People that are doing the same things as you are, watch exactly what they're doing, and try to copy as much as possible in your own way. With that 10%, 20% different, your story, your side of the story, your story about that thing. So like if you notice that, like, for a while that the Walmart Survival Challenge, I was an idiot. I should have done one. Maybe I still do it, and it would still hop on there, and it would still do well. But like Walmart Survival Challenge, is like a huge keyable thing. If you do a video and those are what's hot, I wanted to do a food chain challenge because that was kind of hot for a little bit, and a couple people did these lame videos that they didn't even really do a lot, but they got millions of views. So it's like copying what's hot, and even if you're not even all that big up there, but if you get it out there at the right time and you use the same words and it's part of it's in your wheelhouse. Survival, UK survival, somebody else in the UK does something survivally and you copy them. And even though, he's got 401 subscribers, you could, with your channel authority and consistency of your tags here, you could, I'm pointing at the wrong screen so you can't even see me pointing at stuff. Consistency of your tags, you could rank really high and end up linked right behind TA Outdoors. And he gets 1 million views. How many views are you going to get if he's getting 1 million? You might get just autoplay views. You might get 400,000 autoplay views, or something. You never know. You might even end up ranked, 2 or 3 behind, and so you get 10,000 views on a video that you never, you were just like, wow, that blows you away. And if that watch time after those views is high, YouTube starts suggesting it, and they suggest, because you got those views that were rollover views from somebody else's, they suggest your video to those people again because they did watch it long enough. They didn't just accidentally watch it. The YouTube will recognize that, and you go somewhere. So, UK survival, got to work on that banner photo, like download a thing. I would say all of you guys, if you're going to be serious about this, you want to learn how to edit photos. Thumbnails, so important. It doesn't, like I said before, it doesn't matter how great your video are if people they don't feel like it's professional. And if they feel like it's professional, they're going to be more likely to click on it, and it's going to make such a big difference. And that's one of the reasons why we've been so successful with Ovens Rocky Mountain Bushcraft. Like his, as we get over there, you see his popular uploads, the fish in the mousetrap, catch and cook blueberry pie. That was my invention for this thumbnail. It was like, what do we do with this screenshot that he sent us? He didn't even have an intentional, like his intentional pictures of the pie one that were to use as a thumbnail. They didn't quite work. The lighting was like very bleached out and it looked bad. And I was like holding up, and then he had this one shot where he's holding up the blueberries. And, it's great to do these things intentionally before you make the video, even come up with a thumbnail and then come up with a video. We'll get into that as other ones come along. But I took the hands from one picture, and then I took another picture, which was just a couple seconds later, where he had his hands down, he was looking kind of down, and he's thoughtful, and he's imagining a blueberry pie, and so I made that little imagine bubble, and we put the pie in there, and boom, it's like, because the views were consistently long, and people really enjoyed it. And the thumbnail gave people enough of the story that they, teased them, and they're like, oh, he's imagining a blueberry pie, he's going to do it. Catch and cook wild blueberry pie. I just got to know what that looks like. And it worked out great. These were other intentional photos, like his fish trap one. And a lot of these, these are all of these thumbnails were like, this was a separate try at making the thumbnail, and this wasn't lined up in here this way. It was in a completely different position and from another angle, and we cut him out and stuck him there, and then used this better shot of that, and then by putting Fish-O-Matic underneath, it's not one of my better ones, but this, it's like we're trying to highlight that as much as possible and getting a fish into the pan. And it's like, it's telling that story of the adventure, and then this aspect of bushcraft fishing rod, these words being just tipped and written into the water. It's so different from, it's like this first 30-day survival challenge one. It's like slowly, we should go back and actually fix that. It's slowly plugging away and not doing so great. The words just, they don't fit with the scene nearly as much, and it stands out as to why it's not doing as well, I think. And the reason it is doing well in the first place is because it's at the beginning of the series, so people come back anytime they watch some of the series, and they end up back at the front end about it. But we're talking about UK survival, so I love the little logo thing. It makes me feel like Patagonia. It makes me feel like, professional, something that belongs on a t-shirt. So as you grow, you guys can once you get over enough subscribers, you can turn on your monetizing and being able to add a shirt company through like Teespring and stuff like that, which you got to be careful about because some of them are just low quality, and so we're trying to find, even because the Teespring ones have been like coming in inconsistently, not consistent at all. Yep, the window open so I'm not too hot in here now. Bugs are getting in. Oh well. So thumbnails. Cooking buffalo wings, pancakes for Bug Box. So busy, very busy thumbnails. We want to, as much as possible, with the thumbnails, not busy, because like looking at them on a phone, like this is what we could see in this thumbnail is about as much as you're going to perceive when somebody's scrolling through the feed. And that's what's going to make the difference with your video getting a lot of views on a consistent basis, is YouTube suggesting it in the YouTube feed. And so it needs to be as clear and concise, as big as possible. Picking one aspect of the video and making that as big as possible, to sell the story. And there's two different ways of going about it. This one kind of picks up on some of that. It's like, like your face, your thing pointing to something else really close, and you're holding it up is like that's a really good way to get things. And then there's if you look at Ace videos or something, where he just has the stuff on the ground, like it's just the cooking ingredients and him not being part of it, because Greg is such a big selling point. And we've built his channel authority around a picture of him. It just feels kind of wrong not to have him in it. We did do well with this one, where it's like it shows his bushcraft rod, and because that's the point of the story, is like that bushcraft rod being built, the uniqueness of it and stuff like that. He doesn't need to be in the cover photo, thumbnail and stuff. But it's like, so with like Ace videos, like the majority of his video thumbnails are just like beautifully laid out. Let's see if I can bring it up. Just beautifully laid out cooking stuff, and that's kind of a huge thing. And that can be something that you can replicate very easily with your thumbnails, to really show off the story of what's happening in it. I didn't type it in right or something. Ace videos. Oh. There we go. ACE. So that's one thing you didn't come here for, spelling. So, you can see it, his videos going he's just straight up consistent. If you look at the Wooded Beardsman, it's the same sort of thing. Did I just get rid of the Wooded Beardsman? So he's like straight up consistent. Like there's a post, boom, down, boom, another post, down, boom, no post, and just nice straight smooth line along there. I'll be like this, and I go down further, and then I'm like back up. I don't, because of my inconsistency of trying to always keep my videos consistent, and doing just things that I love. So Ace's more successful videos are just boom, it's telling the whole story. I mean, like, you don't even need to read what's happening down here in the title. It's like trout, crawfish, Old Bay, whatever that is, crab boil, it's like, oh, you're like, oh, that looks cool. And I'll give this guy a chance because I want to know how to cook that for myself. And then if you read the title, it might even be like catch and cook. So you're like, that's even cooler. So his videos, a lot of times, like right here, he's trying to tell the story of, that's telling the story. And that does great in views. It telling the story, like just sticking, obviously not going to eat a frog stuck between two pieces of bread. But man, does that tell the story of, that's what he's doing. He's making a frog sandwich for the episode, and whether his channel or not, you might be like, oh, look down there in the title, it's Catch and Cook Frog Sandwich. That could just be super entertaining, super interesting, and those videos do extremely well. And for him, because he keeps his narrow focus as you're looking at his stuff, it's just one thing after the next of just always staying within that 10% difference of what he's doing. He doesn't ever catch anything else. He doesn't get a slingshot or an air rifle, even though I sent him one. I haven't seen him shoot anything with it. It's like he stays right there. Even if he does it in the videos, he stays right there with his narrow focus, so that each and every video gets, like, I think we can see pretty much 300,000 views. Every once in a while, if it's a little bit on the boring side, it's just another bass. There's a lot of people bass fishing. But if he holds it out, it's a little bit bigger. It's still just, it's bass fishing. But, it's like, boom, trout fishing, cooking in a cave. That's looking like that does pretty decently. But these staying closer to exactly what he is known for without variation of too much. This is like, see, he tried to vary it here, but he did it while keeping it about what he does. He's jumped into a hot spring. It's not necessarily about fish, but he made it about fish by fishing while he was in the hot spring and catching fish. So that's when you vary it by that 10%, but you bring in that new element, and you have your channel a chance to blow up on your channel. So I would say, for everybody, work on your thumbnails. Cooking buffalo wings is like cooking buffalo worm pancakes from Bug Box. I'm not even sure. See, that's the thing, is like, I'm not even sure what that is. It sounds like there's kind of like a huge grossness factor. And that's really cool, but we're like missing that because I'm not able to catch on to that in the thumbnail. So like taking an individual shot of your hand and then just the best focused picture of bugs on a plate, and it says, and then like your face being like kind of a little bit blurry in the background, but still perceiving what's happening on that plate. Like, I'm not sure if I'm going to eat this. Is like, now you just created a question in people's minds. And then when we can create a question, like tent versus hammock. I know I keep going back to my own stuff, but that's like the easiest way because I know my own stuff more. But like tent versus hammock created a question in people's minds. Will tent be better than the hammock? People come to it thinking they already know the answer. People come to it wanting to know the answer. And people come, and those two people clash, and then they're leaving comments, and you create this viewing loop of just insanity. So I think that pretty much covers a couple of you guys that have looked up your channels. We'll try to look some more at things. I don't it could be valuable to go back and change the thumbnails and things. Um, uh, Try, especially for something like this. If you changed it to, survival you know, um, protein worm survival pancakes or something. I cook bug. I mean, it's like I feel like by just what you got going on here, it's like there's an opportunity there for 1 million views when you only have 400 subscribers. It's not unheard of. People do it. The right thumbnail will do it for you. And consistency in your content, so that you can kind of do a little bit better, for each video and your views, and then that causes you to go, that's what we did with Greg's. It's like boom, it's like doing a little bit better and a little bit better, and then it's like, so it's like the blueberry pie thing, the cool fishing pole. And at the time when these other ones came out, so it's like that was like 80,000 views or something in the first week, and the next week it was this one, and he got like 110 or 120 in the first week, and then he puts this fish trap one out, and boom, instantly 1 million views in 1 week. And these ones were like kind of sent back out there again. The next one was shared. It's like there's no reason why this visiting Fowler's hometown Vermont should get like hardly any views. Like if this one had stunk a little bit and this one stunk a little bit, those ones might have had like 5,000 views and got literally stuck there. But because of this, it like gave him a chance to recuperate and then come and do something unique and a little bit out of his wheelhouse, but it's still fishing and adventure. And it's like boom, so 200,000 views on a vlog about visiting Vermont. And then we kind of did a little bit of a stinky thing with just fishing. It was a cool video, just like any of them are, but, and then a cool one. And it's like, you try to keep that ball rolling, staying in his wheelhouse as much as possible, so that when you do the ones that matter, they don't just fall on their face and they take off. So I'll answer your questions now. And maybe if we have to, can open back up stuff and I can use that to show you to answer questions. So hopefully that was helpful for you. We can next I'll talk about and put some links in to help you find some other people to follow and look up the answers to, so that you can continue, because it's going to take more than just hearing what we say here. You need to make this your thing, as your hobby. Depending on the degree that you dive into it, is the degree which you will be able to make it grow quicker for you, and to learn from your mistakes and do better the next time. So, cheers, Zach. I will check this video thumbnails. If I feel like I'm pretty much shadow banned on YouTube. I don't believe that you can be shadow banned on YouTube completely. It's not so much shadow banning as our failures at times to do something that's just that, 5% to 10%. It has to at least be as interesting as the one before and get the same amount of clicks per impressions, or you have to get more clicks per impressions and more view time each time, or consistent. So when I look at it on my phone, it's easy to look at that, and you can see it in your analytics. And maybe I'll look into that about showing you my analytics. And so every time, and a lot of people, like Survival Lily, she's like, oh, I'm just not liked and stuff, and like I don't get YouTube just hides my content, and that's not true. I don't think it's true if you're doing things that are a little bit too risque or something. So okay, so right here, can I actually show you that? So if you see these numbers right here, on the phone app, which is the gear app on your phone for YouTube. If you get the YouTube gear, we can see this in the analytics on the YouTube channel as well. But right here it says that is my average views, which are down right now on this video. This is that intro to the creator thing. It's shorter, so my watch time is below average. My views at this point are below average. If they were in that 7,000 to 11,000 range, then, and this was in that range there, and that was in that range there, when you hit all of those in a row to at least the same, you're able to maintain, and they'll still introduce you to new people. But unless you get more views, and more clicks per impression and more views than the time before, or at least the same, because if you're getting somewhere in that same range consistently, they'll keep adding you, sharing you on pages of people that have seen it before, or sharing you for similar content. And that's where, if you're ever scrolling through the feed and you see people that watch this channel also watch this channel, that you'll end up there, and they'll introduce you to new people, because your growth is all dependent on, you can share until you're blue in the face on Facebook and Instagram and Reddit, and try to be as interactive as possible on every single one of those, on a forums that match your content. It's like, but it's not gonna go anywhere unless you're meeting and beating your own bar that YouTube sets for you every time. You can always recover from that, but you always have to be meeting and beating. And so, like, Tyler and you guys, your thumbnail game, upgrading that thumbnail game is going to make all the world's difference. I mean, just look at sorry to pick on you, but like, look at the difference between your views here and your next ones. It's like, it's so vastly different that it's like double and then some, double the amount of views, because there is intent to create a story and tell a story. And the better you can get at telling that story in those thumbnails without words, or with the most simple set of words, possible, so that it creates more interest in people as they're looking at your pictures. And then you will start meeting, because if you get those initial views, you start meeting and beating your own record each time, and you can grow past that. I've actually been doing so badly because of the 30-day survival challenge lockdown that those numbers are back down. That's why the 30-day survival challenge main lockdown series, when it first came out and it didn't do well, it just continued to take a dive and drove itself into the ground, because my numbers before that were, on average, you're getting 100,000 views from, in a week on the ice, and you're getting 100,000 views in the first day. And I wasn't, and so this series just drove itself into the ground. Instead of consistently working my way out of the hole, I just stayed right across the board, and so I got stuck maintaining instead of coming out of it. And if you are touching on sensitive subjects, there may be a dimming of your channel there. If it's in your title and in your picture, and your content is too gory, too violent, too bloody, there's a certain range at which you can be doing stuff that they don't necessarily flag you for or take you down for, but like they just pass over you for. Because like, if you were to try and go out and rank for a video for air rifles the way I do and do well, I've proved my channel authority and the fact that people watch that and they don't complain about me shooting stuff with an air rifle, because I do it in a manner which is safe and attractive and like you would see on TV. I have a channel authority and I can get away with that. If you did that, they wouldn't have advertisers. There's just not enough advertising space, so they're gonna give that to me and not necessarily to you, because you haven't proven that you're safe yet. All right. Kit Zero, if you have no content created yet, do you recommend we only focus on Facebook and Instagram with short videos until we get more followers? I have several other questions as well. So that's a good question. Like, what are you trying to do? Because if you're trying to, if you're making, let's say, for instance, like we talked about before, custom fishing lures, I would say you don't you could you wouldn't worry about YouTube. Just make good content for Facebook and Instagram. You could do YouTube as well, but just kind of like as somewhere else to throw it, not worrying about how it's actually going to do. It might help you a little bit, but it's gonna the more you dive into YouTube and you have to create that content to match those platforms, the more that's going to take away from your ability to be creative. And I've been able to do it because as I do it, I've also grown a team, and I have like 5 employees now. And so I have people that they manage the, one guy, Matt, he manages the edit of the Facebook ones after I've already edited them for other stuff. Or if I've made one that's just for Facebook, I let him do it, and then I review it, and then I go over it. So like he's re-editing those to fit those platforms, what they want to see. Because Instagram wants to see, either 1-minute videos that are square, or they want to see videos in the vertical, which ours has a little twisty thing. It shows you to turn your phone when you start watching the IGTV video. And Facebook wants to see videos that are in the square, and they are over 3 minutes. So you got to learn what each of those platforms wants and follow exactly what they want to be able to grow in as fast and consistent a manner as possible. So if you're trying to grow a business doing stuff, your better bet, and especially with the social media platforms, you want to make sure that you're not telling people to buy. You want to, like Facebook and Instagram, it's like you want to stick to a 5-to-1 ratio, like 5 posts that just bless the viewer with enjoyment, entertainment, pretty picture for them to hit like on, and then 1 post that's like, hey, if you guys want to buy this, this is the new model of that, you could have 5 videos that are pictures of it and videos of using it, and then the 5th one is like, this is where you can get it. Check it out. Our website's here. Blah blah blah. Links up above, kind of thing. How should I go about selling my plans to travel, earning skills, backpacking, and living out of my car? Living out of your car is kind of a popular thing. So everything you guys do as videos, even on Facebook, can be playlists. So playlists are very important. We always look to put something in a playlist. And with your YouTube channel, all activity on your YouTube channel, even your own activity, counts towards brownie points with you for YouTube, and shows that you are invested in it, and that creates more channel authority, and that channel authority means that they can trust you with more views, and they will share you more. So going on your channel and creating a new playlist, if you've got a bunch of videos, creating a new playlist once a week and rearranging your videos and making an official playlist and adding an actual title and description to that playlist so that it matches what your channel's focus is and things like that makes a big difference. So backcountry runaway, yours would be, stick with that focus, car, van living, I think, is like a couple channels that have like van living is like I'm not sure if that's the name of their series or if that's the name even of their channel too, and they have millions of views, and it's like, so you could be, runaway car adventure. Maybe don't have to get so focused. It's like totally using your, but like you making a playlist, 15-day trip, 30-day trip, about your car adventure, and then literally filming half of it first so that you can make a teaser and a trailer before it, and then that way you can use that to build your little intro to it. So I like to, if you watch I hope you guys have been watching the videos, that's how you got here, kind of, is like you got your teaser about what the episode's going to be about. It can just be as much as just 1 clip if that kind of like tells the story enough. I do so much stuff in my videos, I tend to be like 5 to 7 clips that tell the story. And then you have your intro. So if it's an adventure that you make into a playlist, like our V friend here, Faith travel by faith. It's like make your repair list, and things that you're doing about a 7-day RV adventure, prepping for a 7-day RV adventure. Make it into, that's your playlist. That's also part of the title at the end of the title. 7-day adventure, 1 of 7, prepping for 7-day adventure, episode 1 of 7, kind of thing. And you get that into it, because then when they see it and then somebody drops in, you instantly are pulling more views if you've done well with the video back to the beginning again and that first one. So pretty much every time that I've made a series, you can see that first video always has 1 million views, because no matter how much drop off there is during the series, if they've watched, maybe they came in the middle, they watched the air rifle one, and then they go back, and only ones that didn't really do that were this latest 30-day survival challenge. I think the algorithms changed a little bit, so it, people aren't necessarily going back and watching the beginning as easily. They used to be very religious, YouTube, about sharing your next video in the series. So if you had one that popped, you always got the next video in the series got a lot of views. Living in the truck for 2 years now, but have not done video on it. So yeah, it's good. I told Greg I was telling him, do a build in the back of your truck. It's like, that's a good one. Van life and build, building a bug out truck, stuff like that. Like building your, showing people what you're up to, is pretty, telling the story, always telling the story, building on your story too. So that from one video to the next, that the story builds. Like our 30-day survival challenge that did so well because each episode you're like, oh, I want to see what happens to him next. We talked about what we're going to try the next day, and it's like you get caught up with it. You want to see how far the shelter comes the next day and where we end up and how well we do between now and then. So, building a car adventure into a story and then teasing little bits of that whole story throughout the thing, and it's not just dropping an episode a day, so that you have a little bit of your most epic highlights in your teaser, and you're like, day 2, and it's like, and then that day starts, and you build on that story for people. So they come in episode 5, and then they're forced to go back to the beginning because they don't, like, I don't want to watch episode 5. I'm going to go back and start on day 1. What about magnet fishing and surviving? How many hours of the stuff you put, you like hooks, sinkers, weights? What about magnet fishing and survival? How many hours of stuff you put up? So that's a good point. So he's asking about, Tyler Woods, he's asking about magnet fishing, right? And I think probably all of us, the only reason, if any of you know about magnet fishing, is because of some other YouTuber did a video about magnet fishing, and he found, a handgun. I think that was probably the first one I ever saw. And then I watched it, and I saw several other videos popping up. Now that may do well for them, because their channel is all about the spectacular, and that's what their channel authority is. So I feel like if I did one about magnet fishing, it would totally bomb unless I found a gun or I was to key it to a survival subject. So it was still, like calling it survival magnet, but if you're out surviving in the deep, it's a kind of a really hard one to key into everything, because if you're really truly surviving, because if you don't truly survive in a video that you're labeling survival stuff, you're going to either get a lot of ridicule or you won't if you do a really good story. So that's maybe a hard one to think of keying in. So like, for instance, Monster Mike, that's all he does is epic fishing stuff. It's like one thing after the next. The most smallest fishing rod, like he has a GI Joe fishing rod, and he's trying to catch a little minnow on it. It's like the biggest fishing rod ever, and he's got like a giant PVC pole, and he's using a hose winder to try and reel as he's catching a fish with it. It's like, so he's always trying to get that million views, and then he's like, put a GoPro on a carp, and he puts a GoPro on a fish, and he says that a million times in the video, and that's where his plan. And he gets like 14 million views. It was the lamest video ever, outside if he did do what he said he was going to do, even though the footage was 3 seconds of garbage. I did one on putting a GoPro on a lobster, and I was outside of my wheelhouse. It was not exactly, it wasn't really wasn't my thing to do a spectacular video. It wasn't, like that would key for that right thing, and it only got 400,000 views and got stuck there. After like 3 months of sitting there, then it got the 400,000 views. Everybody that watched it was super happy. The watch time was fairly high. It was fairly consistent, everything else, but it was too far out of my wheelhouse, and it was so much better than Monster Mike's. It should have been, gotten a Grammy, but it wasn't within my wheelhouse. Now, had I I don't know what, I done survival lobster trapping, I probably would have had 1 million views. I also would have gone to jail for trapping lobster illegally, survival trapping lobster. But, yeah. What about, I already read that. What a great idea. No, lots of people who, magnet fishing, I'm not saying it's a bad idea and stuff like that, though. But the more you can make it be similar to your content, like using the magnet to catch fishing lures, that catches stuff. So maybe magnet fishing, catch and cook, because you're bushcraft, magnet fishing, magnet fishing, bushcraft survival tool or not, ? In the thumbnail, and in the title kind of thing, magnet fishing, that way, pitching the question so it falls, and using bushcraft survival tool, magnet fishing, ? Kind of thing in the title or in the picture. So it's like you're asking the question, people want to know the answer to it, and you got a clear picture of it, like holding up with like fishing lures all stuck to it, and all kinds of things that and then catch and cook is part of the title for it too, and you use that to find some fishing hooks, stick some worms on it, haul some garbage out and catch something with it, and then you go and cook that something, and you're like, hey, for an everyday carry in the back of your truck, this is pretty cool, and here's the link because I have an Amazon store or something like that, and boom, there, Bob's your uncle, and you created an integrated story that could go somewhere. What video editing software do you use? I use Final Cut Pro. I always use Mac for everything. You can get older Macs that are refurbished and use Final Cut. The newer updates on Final Cut work really well. It's a little bit costly. You also can, if you're just starting out and you're trying to do these things, you're doing Instagram videos, you can get like a very cheap, not too cheap, but like a fairly decent editor that's on your phone to do just everything right off your phone. And there's Chris Thorne, it might sound like I was bashing on him earlier, but like at the same time, he did everything on the latest iPhone and just kept that iPhone updated and had videos with tens of thousands of views, I think maybe even 1 million views on one at that point, all just off of an iPhone and editing it on the iPhone, and was very successful at it. So there's plenty of proof out there that you don't need you don't need to go nuts on it. You can get Filmora or something, which is a great simple editing software. Really helpful. There's like how they explain, in their tutorials on how to use their film editing software, and you could get the free version and experiment with it, and then pay for, I don't know, maybe even $50, and then it's all yours, and you get rid of the watermark. And you could be able to do, with a Mac though, it comes with iMovie, which is just like Final Cut. So if you start there, and get a refurbished Mac for $450 or something of an older model. Load your footage onto that. Don't try to do 4K. Even my 4K is only 4K from the GoPro and 4K from the other one, the EOS R, which is a really expensive camera from Canon. Even that, I just film in 1080, and we upscale everything at the end to 4K so that YouTube doesn't reduce the quality. And so you get that 4K advantage of everything looking 4K and being 4K, but without having to slow down your computer in the edits and stuff. Except for the drone footage and things like that are true 4K. But even so, they're not even, if I was to put the EOS R in 4K, that would be like piles of data because there's just so much, it's so much bigger sensor. Having a smartphone to get some of those neat shots, anyways, just those slow-mos that you can get on the phones. Like I have some really, I feel like, pretty epic moments that really make people, fall in love with you when you use that smartphone. And I do like my beard's all wet and I roar and the water sprays off and it gets it all in slow-mo and it looks super cool. You could do some really fun stuff with that. We'll get into more of that and tips and tricks for crazy editing techniques and things that you can like just blow people away with it that are so easy to do. Like just one off the bat is just the whip cut. Practicing filming something small for yourself so it looks like your entire video is all filmed with one shot. Like look down at something and and then you can even go to where some other place that you wanted to be and you look down, and so like you're walking along through the woods and you whip down, and then you go to the cliff edge and you whip down, and then it's like you put those two together, and that motion in between when you cut that right in the middle, right, the high motion of it coming down here to the motion of it coming down onto the next clip, and all of a sudden you're walking through the woods and then you're whipping down and you're looking over a cliff, and then maybe you whip it back up again and you're somewhere else, completely, and you turn it to the side like you're going to walk away down the side of the edge of the cliff, and now you're walking along the edge of the lake, and then all of a sudden you're walking into your next shot and you're casting and you're catching a fish, and all of a sudden you just created this moment for people. You throw some music on that so and make those moments cut to the cut, and you just made something magical. But we'll get into more of that in the edits and videos as we do things about that. Anybody else have any last minute? So I'm clearly too small to ever get a response. Oh, I'm sorry. I will be going back through. I'll go back. I'm very dyslexic, so forgive me if I don't get to all of you guys. I'll go back through and I'll write down the questions, and we can specifically target the questions that we missed in next ones too, as well as, well, I'll read yours right now though. I get it. I need to get my game up. Who is this? Practical Prepper. Did you have more of a question, or was that the question sort of like that you're I mean, I know it's a struggle and it's frustrating to put stuff out. I wouldn't now at this point, unless you already, have 100,000 subscribers, get bent out of shape about putting out. Don't break your family over it. Don't break your own mind over trying to get out like 3 videos a week or something like that. We put out 1 video a week and then miss a week every so often of Greg's videos. And the channel is doing really well, and we're able to keep Greg off the drywall. Keep Greg off drywall. That's the goal, right? And it's like, it's like it just doing a consistently good job, just like Primitive Technologies. Even though he only puts out 3 to 5, there's some of these anime ones. They put out these really cool videos, but they only put them out 3 times a year. And they put out almost nothing else the rest of the time. Like they'll put out in between that, like a behind the scenes of the first one, of their green screen work or whatever it was. and it hardly gets any views, but then the next one comes along and it's consistently good, and it gets like consistent, like extreme high watch time, and you can do that. You just need to find your niche. I use the Jobby setup for lights and microphone work well, also keep down wind noise. So you just gotta find your guys' niche. You gotta find that, find that focus, find that good, if there's anything that you want to really research, stop just watching videos for enjoyment. Watch and see how it lays out, and then try to think of that formula. Like, watch the way my video lays out, and think about what formula am I coming up with there. It's obvious that I have a teaser of what the video is about, and then a teaser of what my channel's about, as kind of like an introduction to me. For if somebody watches it for the first time ever, they see all these epic moments and they're like, wow, this is kind of neat. I want to see more of this, Or they're extremely turned off and then they never come back ever again because I didn't just get right into the video. But it's like that's the consistent formula. So everybody that watches it, they know that. They listen for that music. They want, they become like, this is their special thing, as well as, my special thing, and everybody wins. Do you recommend a mic for using with filming on smartphone? There's a Rode mic that you can get that you can doesn't take batteries and plugs in. Obviously, the more you spend on gear, the better quality things will be, and maybe it'll be a little bit easier for use in the edit. But it's all about knowing your gear. Because that Rode mic, it's not going to help you a lot at longer distances. But you get that Rode mic and you consistently film at the right distance. Excuse me. And when you are filming at a longer distance, don't try to talk to the camera and yell out to it, unless it's something really epic like fish on, But don't stand there and narrate to the camera while talking out towards the lake and the camera's, 7 feet to the left, because that Rode mic, and it doesn't have the ability. So you need to learn your gear, because you'll get an epic on a smartphone. Any of the latest phones in the last almost 5 years can get you a beautiful quality footage, especially if you can get used to filming and not being able to see yourself, so that you're filming with not the selfie cam, because that's never as good a quality as the cam on the other side. And you can change your resolution settings to the highest settings, and you just won't be able to see yourself. And so every once in a while it might mean your clip, randomly didn't have the focus on you. So if you have somebody that's helping you with that, or you can put like a mirror up and create your own little contraption, and you got the mic on there, you speak to the mic when it's important, and the rest of the time you try to tell that story with video and with feeling and being yourself. It'll make all the difference. That's why I'm watching videos 5 times in a row, Zach. Tyler Woods watches them 5 times in a row. Thank you very much. Greg, I do a network connection I hear. Do we have any? A couple. I use Artlist.io for my music. I mean, it all can get very expensive as you get into it. So I recommend building it slowly, and then you will be able to, as I just kind of like also too at the beginning, I just dumped all my earnings right back into everything I was already doing. And I kind of still do that. I dump like 50% of my earnings back into, continuing to grow my YouTube further. And I grow, the dividends are always coming back from that. And it's like, I am getting that more growth because of the money that I'm putting into it. Now be careful. Just, you don't want to go out and just start buying all the best cameras and all that stuff, because you might have the best cameras in the world, but if your skill level isn't there yet, you're just going to be blowing that money sooner than later. So master what you have, learn how to edit some photos, look at what people do for editing photos, watch photo editing videos. I mean, that's probably one of the best things you could do is is learning how to take a good thumbnail and then keep working on your video content. I mean, the big guys, the really big guys, they come up with a thumbnail strategy before anything else, and then they figure out how to make a video around that. And that's how you get the most, just consistently always get more than the one before it. I mean, that's all they do is come up with an epic idea after that. What's that? Mr. Beast. That's what he does. He comes up with a, okay, we're going to give away 1 million cars, and that'll look like, we're going to give away $1 million, and so like to make that, a competition, we need a block of money that's the size of a pallet, 4x4x4, with everybody putting their hands on it. That's a 5 million view video. Let's make it now that we've got that idea of what the thumbnail is going to be. And then they just go out and they do it. So it's some parts of that are easier than others. You can't replicate that. We've tried sometimes to replicate what other people have did, but it was too far outside of our wheelhouse and we fail. WOODSMEN, I think he tried to do box fort things were huge and people are getting millions of views. These dubbers that, well, maybe that's not fair to say. Just goofballs, they just, they don't really do anything, and they go out and dig a hole in the sand and put a cardboard box in it so that it's a little bit lined, and like pretend to spend a night in there, and they get like a couple 15 million views. And so I think the WOODSMEN tried once a while back with his son to do like a box fort thing, or I can't remember if that was just a joke between the two of us and he never did it, but it did like fell on its face, of course, because it's too far out of the wheelhouse. It's not what YouTube considers to be his channel authority. How many camera angles do you recommend? Most of the time I'm only using one. 90% of the time I'm only using one. And I'm telling my story with the camera as I do it. I'm just like, I set up the camera and, if you watch the video, you see it tells a progressive story. So you're following it with the GoPro the other day in the making the cordage. It's in the workshop. It shows my hands pulling out the piece, this showing is reaching up, try to as fast as possible. Some of those were like 3 different cuts, but because I whipped the camera up, grab this and I whip the camera back down, I could skip to, I've already got part of the thing disassembled, stuff like that. And you don't even notice there was a second cut. And it makes it flow from one thing to the next. Making coffees like that. It's like can't just move the camera around, get each different step. When they went out on a loan, they told us, set up a camera on the fire, so you got one close up to show your hands lighting the fire, and then you got one back. And you know what? Greg's got one camera, and I use one camera, and I switch to another camera unless I'm out on the boat or something like that. I might have the GoPro on my chest, and then the camera back further to catch the action from a different angle in that circumstances, because it's a once in a lifetime chance. Whereas the fire start, you can get the camera down on it, boom, you spark it, as that tinders. Before you put the tinder in there, you bring your camera back or you zoom it back out, and then you reach forward and you put it into the fire, and you get that next piece. So that's like, boom, you light your fire, and then in the video it shows that shot from wider up. And the same thing with the tools, in assembling stuff. It's like you bring it over, you set it in place, you get the camera, bring it close, show the tighten down to the thing, back to the other shot, and you're moving to the next part of your assembly, and or when you're displaying something for a video, review. How was the first one to start the fish on LOL? How was the maybe I'm missing something there. My brain isn't firing at all. We're 2 hours in. I meant this to be an hour and a half. So I think we're gonna call it good there. If you feel like if I missed something and you guys have asked a question, and you would like your channel to be the next one, so we look at and we could go over some stuff. What do you think about a safety disclaimer in a video? Since that's a good question. Don't bring unless you're doing something that's so dangerous that you shouldn't be doing, don't put a safety disclaimer in a video. for the most part. You can mention it, but like, be careful, because this part of doing this can be dangerous, but do not put disclaimer, this may cause damage to eyes and or mouth and blah, blah, blah. Because if you suggest things to people, then that video can literally get swamped with dislikes and or, people flagging it. It's actually, it's a hard thing to do. It's like if I was to say at the beginning of my Catch and Cooks, warning, animals die in a humane way to provide food for my family, then I would probably get 1 million comments, and YouTube would flag me for it, and I would end up getting videos like ranked for 18 or older, and it's like you basically just sign your own death warrant with some of that. So anyways, keep an eye on the community posts. I'll put some, if I can do it, I will put them in either in a community post, some people for you guys to check out and follow so you can learn some more, as well as we'll talk about that next week. I'm not sure what next week's subject will be. We'll do the same thing though. I'll have a little main subject. It is very possible. You got to find your niche and your narrow focus. So maybe we'll focus on best practices next week for your YouTube channel. Do a couple of reviews of some of the channels. And so if you leave it in the comments below this video or in the community post that is for our class, I will check out your channels, open them up, see if I can't watch more of you guys' videos, and come up with good ideas for you guys to try as far as things that could be viral. And I'll start sharing some of those with you, some ideas of what goes in. So let me know in the comments below, not the live comments here, but below this video. Take a couple minutes to write what your channel is about, what you're trying to do, and what you think of, what if you'd like me to look over your channel, what a question is, stuff like that I can read over, and we can, use to build some more content that you guys need to know the answer to. And that pretty much does it for me. Stick a fork in me. I'm done. Thank you guys for joining. Thanks for signing up for this, and thanks for watching and coming and hanging out with us here. I will see you guys in the next one. Fowler out.